Hello there friends, Steve Turgoose here. Yes, just out for a walk. You know what? I'm feeling a little bit kind of lost in some ways when I turn on YouTube and look at the things that's been being put out there. Strange really. I feel detached and I don't want to. And I can only reference the way I used to feel about things in order to learn how others may still feel about those things. And also with the appreciation and understanding that things that I think I feel now may expand, and others who know less about one thing may know more about another thing. So, the epiphanies that we have, these mind-blowing aha moments in our brain that say, wow, now I know something. Now I can share some kind of light with others. And to be honest, I think everybody's sharing light all the time, Some take the credit for it, some leave the credit to others, and some don't even realise that they've just shined a light on the world. But never mind, the light's out there, that's the main thing. And sometimes if you have a good idea or you have a vision or you have something that you've seen, you do need to see it as maybe your own child, your own creation or something, at least a part of you, and you maybe feel the need to keep responsibility over that idea, protect it, defend it. But there's no ownership. There's no ownership of anything really, And to even think that there is, it's just the illusion within the eye of the beholder. The ownership in a way is like I've mentioned before, you owe what you own. There's an owe, you owe something. There's a responsibility to owning things. And we live in a world of things, that's where we get our status from. I have nice clothes, I have a nice car, I have a nice insurance policy or whatever, and all of these good things. And they do, to a certain degree, reflect success for most people. Though many people can attain that kind of success without any effort at all, just through inheritance, Little Lord stubborn greedy boy or whatever who's inherited his father's inheritance and knows nothing about lordship, nothing about responsibility to the people who've actually created that little kingdom. I think when a business opens up and a boss, a manager hires people, he hires fellows, a fellow man or woman. I say man in that sense of mankind. He hires a fellow man and each has his job. The manager's job is the manager of supervisors and workers and all tea makers and cleaners. And all of them are important to that business. But what happens so much is then the business becomes a corporation, it grows and grows and loses its kind of familiarity with its own workers. Everybody becomes a part of a machine, a system, a procedure. The friendship, the brothership, the fellowship then goes out of that workplace. It goes out of society, the days where we go to our neighbours for a cup of sugar, We've become more and more kind of attached to this mechanical system way of doing things in our lives. In any kind of style or trend that we may reflect it's come from a trend off television. It's come off a popular trend, And it's like who can rise up to these trends, who can rise up to the social status, who can rise up to the amount of obedience that it takes, who can rise up to the stupidity, who can, society, domestication, the fairground. So where do I want to go with this? So like I was saying, I feel a bit disconnected, and I know a lot of you feel the same. You're disconnected from society and things, and there's been a lot of talk about escaping the system and autonomy, getting your own community together and things. That's been a lot of talk over the years because people are fed up with the system. There's been a lot of talk on YouTube, I remember back in the day watching the old YouTubers like Alex Jones. I'd watch InfoWars for breakfast, you know. And at first it was kind of scary to get all of this information, but then after a while I realised that, you know, the information's one thing, but emotion's another. And so I left. I would like leave the show running, InfoWars, for a couple of hours and let it roll over me. And I started becoming immune to this kind of, this way of like shouting about information. I just realised that, yeah, maybe that's just a part of the message that some people need, you know, all of this shouting and swearing and anger. I just thought maybe people were just in a lower frequency and, you know, in a harder place in their lives and needed that kind of shouting. You know, a part of myself needed that kind of shouting. We always knew something wrong was wrong with the world. You know, if you went to school, you probably kind of sussed it back then that this wasn't for you. But at the same time, you know, what do we expect from life? Do we expect to be born into an amazing system that's just ice cream and you know, French fries all day? What do we expect from normality? And so the normality that we get born into is very, very, very strange. You know, it's very full of trademarks and logos and symbols and sales pitching and advertising and lies upon lies about what's better than what. I think I start to recognise it as a social labelling, a realm of labels, you know, titles, labels, everything's got a label. You are an idiot, you are clever, you are a genius, you are bad, or you are, you know, this is, or he is good, or she is, you know, all of this isness about life. Terrorising, you know. He is, you know, why label things, you know? I noticed Coca-Cola started a campaign recently. Well, I saw it recently. You know, labels are for cans, not for people. And I think that's absolutely the point. You know, I don't know what the laws of ridicule are. There's a scene on Hook, you know, Peter Pan, the sort of thing with Robin Williams, where they're kind of calling names at each other, the kids and Peter Pan, you know, and vulgarities. And I don't know where that plays a role. I've never, you know, I've got red hair, and at school I was always like called these particular labels that kind of wore off and fell off, and people realised if they used them again anymore, they'd just reveal themselves as having a classroom kind of mentality, you know. And so we tend to hold back on labels when we leave school. You know, you see school kids calling each other a lot of little kind of labels, titles, titillation. Ha ha ha! He's a knob. He's an idiot. You know, I don't know. I find, you know, I just like directness. I just love the art of directness. And then for me, I just get a little bit confused with ambiguities. The ambiguities in law alone really piss me off completely. But I suppose there could be no other way. You know, if law was so crystal clear that everybody could just work it out, then it could be misused, you know. So the ambiguities, you know, I have to just accept that life isn't just as it seems. We are all mysteries, you know. That's why we've got the title Mister. It means mystery, you know, because no one can define you. You know, you're at work, it's your title, the mystery of life, you know. So where am I taking this? Yeah. Society, labels. You are the mystery. You know, and the name's there for your label so that people know who they're talking about, you know. My name, Steve Turgoose. It says something about me. I don't know what, I inherited that name. The name Turgoose, as far as I've tracked down, comes from Scandinavia and comes from the words Thor and ghost, or spirit, the spirit of Thor. A lot of names have got a lot of deeper meanings, you know, you have to kind of search back through those meanings, but you know, It's what makes you unique about you. Is you, your name, your person, everything about you. But there's things that we just don't think about with names and with individuality and uniqueness. Your rights to be you, and there's no group rights in that sense. You know, they're just artificial group rights, and group rights can be pretty harmful. You know, socialism. Everybody has equal rights. You know, it's not really a good way to run a society. So it's all about individuality. And I feel so disconnected, and I see others who are as disconnected as I am. And I feel they're not alone, you know. I don't feel alone as an individual. I don't feel alone as a self-determinist. And, you know, as I'm speaking now, it's only I'm alone because I'm alone in the woods, so I can speak to you. Most of my time I'm not alone, but I do feel in society alone, even if I'm surrounded by people. And I think, you know, you wouldn't be watching me now if you didn't have that kind of like notion. You know, and it's for sure, it's absolutely warranted. You know, we live in Alice's Wonderland. We live in this dream world that's been constructed to for some reason. I just hope that it's educational, that it prospers, that it is a provision for us. And I see a system that's provided, and I see lots of people also misusing this system. And so for me, there's a major aim to sort out that problem. What is the problem that we're going through? And sometimes I have to take a step back from everybody else, you know, when everybody else seems to be just along a set of narratives. And the other factor is that people are stuck in their nations, you know, bound to the rules of the nations. So it means that we can divulge too much in our own national news, in our own national affairs, without realising that the national affairs are international. It's like conflicts between countries that we have absolutely no leverage over whatsoever. In fact, by even knowing it, I'm wondering sometimes whether even knowing the news is an advantage or not. Because I think if we've got things at arm's length, then that's where we have the most influence on our lives. On saying that, I appreciate all of the people who are out on the field with cameras, reporting, and trying to report the truth, proof and truth. And we're not going to get either. We're not going to get either. So this is another point, really, for me, is to be able to look at everything without the need for it to be true or false, without the need for it to be right or wrong. That's just that would just be my judgment. But at the same time, I've got no necessity to just take one narrative. If I can see two narratives, you know, like you see somebody walk into a neighbour's garden and take an apple from the tree, or 3 apples, and you think they've stolen apples, but maybe there's another story, another narrative. So before actually presuming that evil, to presume another narrative. And you can find that there's always like different narratives. There's a guilty and an innocent narrative sort of thing. You know, the person did it intending to harm or steal, or not. So it's not about making laws between us. It's about what you think. It's about what you think. It's about what you think. You know, I can't change the way you think. And if you think that something on the outside world is what you should follow, then it gets risky, unless you question everything that's coming at you. How does that all relate to me? You know, I'm a video maker. So it means when I come on this camera here, it's not quite like talking to you in person. You know, your room, your computer may be in private venue, but it's just too widely shared for me to say everything that I would normally say. And I'm sure a lot of other video makers will experience the same thing. Is they just love to say something, but they realise that it's mostly not useful for the audience unless they understand it. You know, which even if every single one of you understood what I was to say, if anybody misunderstood it, then it could be, say, pretty bad. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, waffle, waffle, ramble, ramble. I don't know what I want to say today on this video. I just thought I had the courage to make videos, to come and speak to you about things, to speak about everything. Even things that were wrong. Because I know we're all human and you just say, look, you know, Steve, you got that one wrong. Blah de blah. That's fine. But it's just when you find, you know, at first you're like scared of a battle or a confrontation or something, even if it's just showing your face on a camera, and you know, scared of saying some things, and then you say them and then you find out that it's just not bad to say them. It's really not bad. And then you say them more and more, and you start, like, you know, like fighting all of these different kind of things and winning each fight. You know, it's like an inner fight. And then maybe you get to this point where you realise that playing devil's advocate is just far too easy these days. We can fly all around the place and demonise everything. We can scoff and be cynical at lots of things, you know. Food chains, television shows, you know, churches and schools. You know, we can ridicule it all the way until we, you know, until the ends of the universe. We can scoff at it and be spiteful, and but there's nothing there. There's just this kind of like devil feeling. Ha ha ha. I've found labels to stick on this thing. We should just remove all the labels and actually get to the literal logic of things. When I say literal logic, I'm not talking about like what we all think is logic, that gravity falls down and things like that, because, you know, logic is a lot. People have been working on it for thousands of years, you know. There's a lot to be taken into consideration. I'm not saying it's complex, I'm just saying we need to have this kind of respect that we just don't know everything. But we can know things. When the question comes to us and it's posed properly, then we can actually reason with that question, you know. But to actually walk around in life thinking that A plus B is C and therefore D is E, it's about having a state of mind that doesn't just presume. You know, that's not applicable. It's not applicable, you know, if you enter a situation, you know, it has to reset every time. You can't walk into any situation with a precondition. And so why build conditions? Why put labels on things if you're going to then have to quickly take it off while no one's looking? Oh yeah, you know, I called him an idiot, but now he's face to face with me. I've got to take that label off. Because it's kind of embarrassing now to misuse language in a way that makes no sense anymore. When we're talking about competence, literal competence, you know, in communication. We're talking about using the right words for the right things. And that's where things have gone wrong. People are misusing language, not understanding language, and just merely by that occurrence of language just being lost, the foundations of language being lost, the meanings being lost, means that the wrong people get into power. You know, the people who can read and write and spell and bamboozle people with words can get in power. And we walk around confused at these words. It doesn't matter how much of an opinion we make, and it doesn't matter how many people share that opinion. And it doesn't matter how much we agree with it. Because the more we agree on an opinion that's based off just, let's have an opinion because it's popular. It's the only opinion that everybody will share, so therefore that must be the right one. No. You know, the popular opinion is usually the most dangerous one, because otherwise we wouldn't be in this problem. You know, if the populace understood what was right inherently, then we wouldn't have to educate ourselves and each other on how to coexist. You know. I'm just trying to work out what I'm trying to even say on this video, really. I often wonder what the title will be. But I think the main thing, I think the end of all ends, you know, when I'm thinking about what I should do. It's my life that I bet on. And other people's lives are precious to me, and it's my decision. So, you know, it's my decision to live and die by, but it's also my decision to test to the end, you know. And it's how I see the world, it's how you see the world to you, you know. Because there's so much lost in translation that, you know, maybe I tell you exactly what I feel, and you hear it differently because we have a different use of language. That can't be overcome. And it can't be overcome between nations, you know. Even different, like, regions in the same country, in the same language, don't understand each other because they have different accents, different dialects. And when we start to move to other countries and hear other languages, you know, we start to need to be able to speak with gestures, with smiles, with, you know, with our hearts, with our hands, to feel what the other would want or would need. You know, when we're with strangers, foreigners, we're talking on a different level of communication. And at the point where you think that everybody should speak the same as you is kind of the point where, you know, you lose. So as much as we feel like we're all being formed and pressed into some kind of mould, and as much as maybe that is true, there are a lot of people on this planet who I would consider control freaks, think that the only way forward is through discipline, through structure, through obedience, through routine. And these are things that I hate. You know, I disagree with routine. I think it destroys the spirit of man. Self-discipline and things like that, you know, these are virtues. These are virtues. But you know, who do you follow? Your own virtues, or virtues of a book, or virtues of somebody else? I think when we all start to look into ourselves, deep into our own hearts, looking at our own values and virtues and what we would bet on as a truth. When we look at that deep in ourselves and really, really deep down, you know, we're all very similar. And that's where my faith is. You know, all people can shout, all people can be angry, all people can look scary. You know, I can look scary, you can look scary. The whole world can look sinister. But at the same time, you know, it's our duty to smile at the world and make it a better place, a less sinister place. Most of us are not bad, we're just stressed and look evil, you know, look nasty. You know, I don't like using the word evil, but fuck it, it's only a word, you know, same as the word fuck it. I think that's what makes something dark, you know, negative or whatever, is when we use words that you know, make us feel bad. sometimes you've got to get into the context of a conversation. People sometimes talk really bad about a subject and they don't mean it. They don't mean it. It's just the kind of flow that people need to get on, I think. It's just the anger that's maybe needed, or cynicism that's needed to address certain problems. I don't know. Maybe the whole progression is in our hearts, to the point where we just notice that we're just talking in a different way about things. We're talking more to the world and not just to our own buddies in the street. That we are pronouncing words and trying to think about what other foreign-speaking people would translate. We can make the effort as as individuals, and I see when an individual makes an effort, then I think good of that individual. It's not about a group thing. To me, a group's a great thing. It's great we can achieve a lot as a group, but to me, it's about the individuals. It's about every individual in that group getting from that group what they want and being able to put in what they can. I don't think that's much to ask. If you leave all the control freakishness away and say, the only way this will work is if we do it my way, that's not the point. It's just, let's all be honest with each other so we even know what way is possible, because when people are just telling me about things they don't want, it's very difficult to assess the conditions. All of these conditions that need to be met. There is a point where you realise that either people are asking for impossible conditions, or there's going to have to be compromises made. If one person wants black and the other one wants blue, and the other one wants green, we have to make a decision, obviously. But I think most of the times, when we look deep at what we really, really, really want, omitting everything else, at first, and saying, well, if we get that, that would be nice. But what is necessary? What is necessary? What is the necessity for us all? And over more, what potential do we have as individuals? What potential do we have between us with our skills? And what more potential do we have if we're following our spirit and not just avenging the world, not just trying to get revenge or responding or as a reflex attack to the crazy news, to the crazy situations? We should be choosing what's right, choosing what we want, not ignoring what's wrong, not ignoring what others are doing, but to know what we want as right. To know what is right, to know what we want, not what we don't want. You can deduce that yourself. Okay, what do I not want? And you will be left with an answer. That's what I need. And that's what we should then be looking at, but not obsessively. There is time, But who am I? I'm not preaching. I'm just here, I'm just here. Just opening my heart to you guys and girls. Strange world, isn't it? Strange world where we make videos and watch videos and communicate through comments and subscribe. I guess I'll just go with it. See you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Cheerio. This was Steve Turgoose reporting from nature. Cheers.